The emergency signal came through at 600 hours, crackling with static and fear. Captain Minu stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the translation software struggle to make sense of the alien words. His coffee had gone cold in his hand, forgotten as the message played a second time. "This is colony ship Blessed Dawn. Engine core failure. Dying star radiation. Please, anyone." The voice belonged to something called a. Minu had never heard of them before. The ship's computer pulled up what little information Earth's databases had. They were a peaceful species, traders mostly, with skin like polished river stones and eyes that could see colors humans couldn't even imagine. They'd been part of the Galactic Council for over 3,000 years. "Location?" Minu asked. His navigator, a young woman named, looked up from her console with worried eyes. "Sector 7 Alpha, near the red giant star that's going supernova. Sir, the readings they're bad." Minu walked over to look at her screen. The numbers made him frown. Radiation levels were climbing by the hour. The gravity field around the dying star was unstable, pulling and pushing in waves that could tear a ship apart. And the temperature swings were extreme. One moment, the space around the ship was hot enough to melt metal. The next moment, it was cold enough to freeze nitrogen solid. "Forward this to Galactic Council Command," Minu said. "They need to see it." 2 hours later, the response came back. Minu read it twice, not quite believing what he was seeing. "Rescue deemed impossible. Radiation lethal to all known species. Gravity fluctuations beyond safety parameters. Temperature extremes incompatible with life support. All ships ordered to maintain safe distance. Prayers offered for the." Prayers? They were offering prayers instead of help. Minu looked around his bridge, was staring at her hands. His communications officer, a quiet man named, had his jaw clenched tight. At the weapons station, was shaking his head slowly. "Sir," said softly, "we could reach them in 18 hours if we push the engines." "The Council said it's impossible," reminded them. "The Council isn't from Earth," replied. That was the truth of it. The Galactic Council was made up of species from safe worlds, beautiful planets with gentle weather and comfortable gravity. They'd never known real danger, not the kind that Earth threw at its children every single day. They didn't understand what impossible meant to a human. Minu set down his cold coffee and opened a channel to the Council. "This is Captain Minu of the human vessel Horizon's Edge. We're responding to the distress call. Estimate arrival in 18 hours. The response was immediate and alarmed. A face appeared on the screen, belonging to a council representative. The alien looked like a tall bird covered in blue feathers, with a beak that clicked nervously as it spoke. "Captain, did you not receive our assessment? The conditions are lethal. Your species may be resilient, but this goes beyond." "We got your message," Minu interrupted. "We're going anyway." "But the radiation alone would kill you in minutes." Minu almost smiled. "No, it won't. It'll make us sick if we stay too long, but we can work in shifts. Rotate the crew, limit exposure. We've done it before." "The gravity fluctuations will make us dizzy, maybe nauseous. We'll manage." The alien's feathers were standing straight up now, a sign of distress. "The temperature extremes are beyond your equipment specifications." "Our equipment was built on Earth," Minu said calmly. "It has to handle everything from the Arctic to Death Valley, from the deep ocean to space. We build for extremes because that's what we know." There was a long silence. Other aliens were gathering around the council representative now, all looking shocked. One of them, a small creature that looked like it was made of purple jelly, spoke in a trembling voice. "You are from a Class 12, we thought. We thought that meant you were dangerous, violent." "It means Earth tried to kill us every day for millions of years," Minu replied. "So we learned to be tough, but it also taught us something else. When someone needs help, you don't check if it's safe first. You just go." He closed the channel before they could argue more. Set course for the ship, maximum speed. Yes, sir. As the horizon's edge turned toward the dying star, Minyu opened the shipwide intercom. All hands, this is the captain. We've got a rescue mission. It's going to be dangerous. The conditions are worse than anything the Galactic Council considers survivable. But there are 47 civilians out there who will die if we don't help them. I'm not ordering anyone to come. This is volunteer only. If you want to sit this one out, that's okay. No judgment. He waited. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of the engines. Then spoke without looking up from her console. I'm in, sir. Same here, said. Wouldn't miss it, added. Across the ship, every single crew member volunteered. 78 humans, all willing to fly into hell to save people they'd never met. Minyu felt something warm in his chest. Pride, maybe, or hope. Send a message to the ship, he told. Tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold on just a little longer. The horizon's edge accelerated, pushing toward the deadly radiation and crushing gravity and impossible temperatures. Behind them, the Galactic Council watched in disbelief. Ahead of them, 47 waited in the dark, not knowing that they were coming to save them. This was the moment that would change everything. This was the moment when the galaxy learned what humans really were, not monsters from a nightmare world, not violent primitives, but something stranger and more wonderful than they'd ever imagined. They were the ones who ran toward danger when others ran away. They were the ones who heard impossible and said, watch us. They were coming to help. Minyu gathered his senior crew in the briefing room 12 hours into their journey. The table was covered with scans and readouts, all of them showing the nightmare they were flying into. But these 5 people sitting around the table weren't looking scared. They were looking focused. Was his chief engineer, a small woman with strong hands and sharp eyes. She'd grown up in the Arctic research stations, where the temperature outside could kill you in 3 minutes. She'd learned to fix frozen equipment while wearing 3 layers of gloves. She looked at the temperature readings and just nodded slowly. The suits will handle this, she said. I've already modified them, added extra insulation layers and better cooling systems. We can work in these conditions for maybe 40 minutes at a time before we need to cycle out. Sat beside her. He was the medical officer, tall and quiet, with a calm that came from working in war zones and disaster areas. He'd pulled people from burning buildings and treated patients in the middle of hurricanes. The radiation numbers didn't seem to bother him. I've prepared anti-radiation medication for everyone, he said. We'll take it in cycles. It won't stop all the damage, but it'll slow it down enough. As long as we don't stay too long, we'll recover. Was the pilot, and she was studying the gravity readings with interest. She'd survived a crash landing on a desert planet once, walking for 3 days through heat that should have killed her. She had scars from it, but she never complained. These gravity waves are wild, she said, almost smiling. Like flying through a storm. I can do it, but it's going to be rough. Was the security chief, built like a wall and just as solid. He'd worked in Earth's deep-sea colonies, in pressure that would crush most aliens flat. He understood hostile environments. What about the ship itself? He asked. Do we know what we're walking into? Minyu pulled up a schematic. It's breaking apart. Hull breaches in multiple sections. Fires in some areas, hard vacuum in others. They are sheltered in the center of the ship, but they can't get out. The passages are blocked or too dangerous for them to cross. But not for us, said. It wasn't a question. Not for us, Minyu agreed. The plan was simple because it had to be. They'd approach in the shuttle, dock with the ship, and go in through the emergency airlock. Then they'd fight their way through to the survivors, carry them out, and get everyone to safety. Simple, dangerous, maybe impossible. But humans had made careers out of doing impossible things. 6 hours later, they reached the edge of the danger zone. The ship's sensors started screaming warnings. Radiation levels climbing. Gravity fluctuations detected. Temperature readings swinging from -100 to +200 degrees. All hands suit up, Minyu ordered. The human suits looked primitive compared to alien technology. The aliens used climate-controlled systems that created perfect environments inside. Human suits were just layers: insulation and cooling, heating and shielding, redundant systems on top of redundant systems, because humans knew that technology failed and you needed backups. Checked everyone's gear personally. Remember, rotate your positions every 30 minutes. Keep moving so you don't overheat in one spot or freeze in another. Watch your radiation badges. If they turn red, you're done for the day. They loaded into the shuttle, took the pilot's seat, her hands already moving across the controls, the others strapped in behind her. "Council ship is hailing us," reported from the main ship. "They want to talk to you, Captain." "Put them through." The bird-like alien appeared on the screen again, surrounded by dozens of other species now, all of them watching. "Captain Minyu, please reconsider. Our best scientists have analyzed the situation. You cannot survive these conditions. This is suicide." Minyu looked at his crew, gave him a thumbs up, was checking his medical kit one more time, was running pre-flight checks, was loading rescue equipment. "Your scientists never lived on Earth," Minyu said. "We'll be fine." "But the radiation." "We evolved under radiation from our sun. We built our civilization while dodging cosmic rays. This is more, yes, but it's not alien to us." "The gravity." "Earth's gravity is stronger than most civilized worlds. We're built for it. These fluctuations will be uncomfortable, but we'll adapt." "The temperatures." "Earth has the Sahara Desert and Antarctica," Minyu said patiently. "We have volcanoes and ice sheets. We swim in near-boiling hot springs for fun. Our children play in snow. We know hot and cold." Another alien pushed forward, this one looking like a floating crystal. Its voice chimed like bells. "You speak as if Earth tried to kill you." "It did," said from behind Minyu. "Every single day. Storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, droughts, floods. Our planet has been trying to kill us since we climbed down from the trees. So we got tough." "Or we died," added quietly. The aliens went silent. "We're launching now," Minyu said. "We'll contact you when we have the—" He cut the channel. The shuttle detached from the horizon's edge and aimed it at the dying star. Immediately, alarms started going off. Radiation warnings, gravity alerts, temperature fluctuations. Ignored all of them. Her hands moved steadily, making tiny corrections as the gravity tried to pull them off course. The shuttle shook and rattled. Something cracked in the back, but they kept going. "Temperature outside is now 150 degrees. His voice came through from the main ship. "Now dropping, now at -90, now rising again." Inside their suits, the crew felt the changes. Hot, then cold, then hot again. Uncomfortable but survivable. "Radiation levels are at yellow," reported, checking his sensor. "We're okay for now." Ahead of them, the ship came into view. It was beautiful even in its death, graceful curves and delicate towers, but it was also clearly dying. Parts of it were melting. Other parts had shattered from the gravity stress. Fires burned in some sections while others were torn open to space. "I've got the airlock," said. "It's damaged but functional going in." She brought the shuttle around with a skill that made it look easy. It wasn't. The gravity kept trying to slam them into the ship's hull. The temperature swings made the shuttle's metal expand and contract, throwing off her calculations, but had learned to fly in Earth's atmosphere, where wind and weather and 100 other things tried to kill you every flight. This was just another day at work. The shuttle connected with the airlock, checked the seal. "We're good, pressurizing." Minyu stood up. "Remember the plan. We go in, we find them, we bring them out. No heroes, we work together." "No heroes except for the fact that we're doing this at all," muttered. Minyu almost smiled. Fair point, let's go save some lives. The airlock door opened, and the humans stepped into the dying ship. Above them, the Galactic Council watched and waited, still not believing that these could do what they claimed. But they were about to learn. The inside of the ship was worse than the scans had shown. The airlock opened into a corridor that had been beautiful once. Now half of it was melted, the walls running like candle wax. The other half was frozen solid, covered in ice crystals that glittered in the emergency lights. Minyu stepped through first, his suit sensors immediately screaming. The temperature in this corridor was 70 degrees. Just 20 meters ahead, it was -40. The radiation counter on his wrist clicked steadily. Spread out but stay in sight of each other, he ordered. They moved into the ship, took point, using a handheld scanner to check for structural weaknesses. Came next, carrying cutting tools and repair equipment. Followed with his medical kit. Stayed near the airlock, ready to get the shuttle moving if they needed a quick escape. The ship groaned around them. Metal twisted and popped. Somewhere deep inside, something exploded, making the floor shake. "They are 3 decks down," said, checking the ship's layout. "Central shelter, but the main corridors are blocked. We'll have to go through the damaged sections." "Lead the way," Minyu said. They found the first body 2 corridors later. A small and delicate, crushed by fallen debris. Its scales were a beautiful blue-green like Earth's oceans, or they had been. Now it was just dead. Knelt beside it for a moment. "They're so fragile," he said quietly. It was true. They had evolved on a gentle world. Soft gravity, mild temperatures, low radiation. They'd never needed to be tough. Looking at the crushed body, Minyu understood why the Galactic Council had called this rescue impossible. For them, it was. These conditions would kill most aliens in minutes. But humans weren't most aliens. They moved deeper into the ship. The path chose took them through sections that made the crew work for every meter. One room was so hot that their suit cooling systems ran at maximum. Minyu felt sweat running down his back, but the suit kept him alive. They crossed it in 2 minutes and kept going. The next section was exposed to space. Hard vacuum and radiation pouring through a hull breach. Sealed his helmet and stepped through like he was taking a walk. The others followed. This was nothing compared to working outside the ship during a solar storm. Then they reached the blocked passage. A support beam had fallen, twisted by the gravity fluctuations. Behind it, they could hear voices. Scared voices, speaking in a language the translators struggled with. "They are on the other side," confirmed. "But this beam, it's massive, and it's still structurally important. If we cut it wrong, we might bring down the whole section." "Studied it, can we move it?" "It weighs several tons. In normal gravity, no chance. But the gravity here keeps fluctuating." She checked her scanner. "In about 3 minutes, there's going to be a low-gravity wave. We might be able to shift it then." They waited. The voices on the other side got louder. Someone was crying. Someone else was trying to calm them down. Minyu activated his external speaker. "Hello, can you hear me? We're here to help. We're human. Just hold on a little longer." The voices stopped. Then one voice came back, shaking but clear. "Human, but the council said no one could reach us. They said we were beyond help." "The council doesn't know humans very well," Minyu replied. "We're coming through. Be ready to move fast when we tell you." The gravity shift came. Suddenly everything felt light, and Minyu grabbed the beam together. On Earth, in normal gravity, it would have been impossible. But here, in this moment, they could move it. Their muscles, built for Earth's heavy gravity, were more than strong enough. They heaved. The beam shifted, slipped through the gap then. The gravity started to increase again, and Minyu pushed harder, fighting to keep the opening clear. The beam was getting heavier by the second. "Go," Minyu shouted. They released the beam and dove through just as the gravity snapped back to normal. The beam crashed down behind them, blocking the path they'd come through. They'd have to find another way back. But ahead of them, in a room lit by failing emergency lights, were the 47 of them pressed together in the center of the room, adults sheltering children, elderly ones lying on makeshift beds, all of them staring at the humans with wide eyes. They were beautiful. Their scales shimmered in colors that shifted and changed. Their eyes were large and dark, filled with fear and hope. They were small, delicate, built for a kind world that had never tried to hurt them. And they were dying. Went to work immediately. He moved from one to another, checking vital signs with instruments adapted for alien biology. Severe dehydration, radiation sickness, hypothermia in some, heat stress in others. We need to get them out now. One of an older one with silver-touched scales, spoke. You came. You really came, but how? The radiation should have killed you. The temperatures. We're from Earth, said simply. This is a bad day for us, but we've had worse. I don't understand. Minyu knelt down so he was eye level with the elder. Our planet is harsh, deadly even. We evolved dodging disasters. We learned to survive in heat that would cook most species and cold that would freeze them solid. We swim in radiation compared to most aliens. This, he gestured around at the dying ship, this is dangerous, but it's the kind of dangerous we understand. The elder's eyes filled with tears. You came for us anyway. Of course we did. The ship shook again, harder this time. A section of the ceiling collapsed at the far end of the room. The screamed and pressed together. We need to move now, said. This ship won't last much longer. But there was a problem. They couldn't move through the damaged sections. The temperature swings would kill them. The radiation would kill them. The vacuum would kill them. They were trapped. Looked at Minyu. We'll have to carry them. It was the only option. The humans started gathering the children first, then the elderly and injured. Each human could carry multiple. They were light, fragile things compared to human children. Picked up 3 small ones, holding them carefully against her suit. Okay, little ones, close your eyes. This is going to be scary, but I promise you'll be safe. Loaded 4 onto his back and shoulders. His deep-sea training had prepared him for carrying heavy loads in difficult conditions. This was easier than hauling equipment through underwater currents. Minyu took 2 adults and a child. The adults looked terrified, but they trusted him. They had no choice. The path back is blocked, said. We'll have to go through the engineering section. It's bad, really bad, exposed to space in places. Radiation is high, temperature extremes. Can we make it? Minyu asked. Jaw set, we're going to make it. They moved out. The first corridor was the easy part, just hot, very hot. Minyu felt his suit's cooling system working overtime. The he carried whimpered but survived, protected by the shelter of his body. The next section was the hard one, a 50-meter stretch exposed to space. Through the breach, they could see the dying star, massive and red and angry. Radiation poured through like invisible fire. Seal your suits, Minyu ordered. Cover thee as much as possible, we go fast. They ran. In the low pressure, each step pushed them forward in great bounds. The radiation counter on Minyu's wrist climbed from yellow to orange to red. His suit protected him, but he'd pay for this later. They all would. But they would live. They burst through into the next section and sealed the door behind them, checked the quickly. They're okay, scared but okay. 2 more sections, one frozen, one burning. The humans pushed through both, their suits creaking from the stress, their bodies aching from the effort. But they didn't stop. They couldn't stop. Finally, they reached the shuttle, had it ready, the airlock open and waiting. They loaded the inside, strapping them into emergency seats and floor positions. It was crowded. It was uncomfortable. But everyone was alive. That's all of them, confirmed. 47 all accounted for. Then let's get out of here, Minyu said. Detached from the dying ship and pushed the engines to maximum. Behind them, the ship finally gave up. It broke apart in silence. pieces drifting into the star's gravity well. But its crew was safe, carried to freedom by who refused to accept impossible as an answer. The shuttle was never designed to hold this many people. 47 and 5 humans crammed into a space meant for maybe 15. The children were crying, pressed against their parents. The adults were silent, their large eyes watching everything with shock and fear. Focused on flying, the gravity around the dying star was getting worse. Waves of force that pulled and pushed, trying to tear the small shuttle apart. Her hands moved constantly on the controls, making tiny adjustments every second. "Gravity spike coming," his voice warned from the horizon's edge. "Big one, in 10 seconds. "I see it," muttered. She angled the shuttle, using the gravity instead of fighting it, letting it slingshot them away from the star. The whole shuttle shook, groaned. Something in the back made a cracking sound. The screamed. "It's okay," said loudly, trying to be heard over the noise. "This is normal. The shuttle's built for this. We're safe." It wasn't exactly normal, and they weren't exactly safe, but they didn't need to know that. Minyu checked his radiation badge. Deep red. He'd taken too much exposure. They all had, but they'd known that would happen going in. The human body could take a lot of damage and recover if you gave it time. They'd be sick for a few days, maybe a week, but they'd live. He looked at whose badge was also red. The big man shrugged. "Spent longer in worse radiation doing deep-sea salvage. I'll be fine." The shuttle cleared the worst of the gravity field, eased back on the engines, giving them a break. They were still shaking, still being pulled around by the star's dying throes, but the immediate danger was past. In the back, one of the elders was trying to stand, gently push them back down. "Stay seated. We're not clear yet." "But you're hurt," the elder said, looking at the radiation badges. "The red means danger, doesn't it? You've been exposed too much." "We'll recover," said simply. "You knew this would hurt you. You knew you'd get sick, but you came anyway." "Of course." The elder stared at her. "Why?" "Thought about that for a moment. Because you needed help, that's enough." This face did something complicated. Its scales shifted colors in a way that the translator couldn't interpret, but Minyu thought it might be the equivalent of crying. They docked with the Horizon's Edge 10 minutes later. The main ship's crew was ready, having set up a temporary medical bay, supervised as they were moved, checking each one carefully. "Mostly they're just scared and dehydrated," he reported to Minyu. "Some radiation exposure, but they were shielded better than we were. A few broken bones, probably from the gravity fluctuations. Nothing we can't handle." The Galactic Council's medical ship arrived 2 hours later. It was a massive vessel, equipped with technology far beyond what the Horizon's Edge had. But the Council doctors stood frozen when they saw the all alive, all being treated by human medics. The bird-like Council representative who'd argued with Minyu came aboard. It walked through the temporary medical bay in silence, looking at each. Then it turned to Minyu. "You did it. You actually did it." "Yes. Our best scientists said it was impossible." "They were wrong." The alien's feathers were quivering. We watched the whole rescue through your suit cameras. The radiation you endured would have killed any of us in minutes. The temperatures that you walked through would have stopped our hearts. The gravity that you fought against would have crushed our bones." "We're from Earth," Minyu said. "We're built different." "But why?" The alien's voice rose. "Why risk yourselves for strangers, for aliens you'd never even met? You could have died. You almost did die. For what?" Minyu looked past the alien to where a small child was being examined by. The child was scared but alive. Its parent was holding its hand, both of them safe because 5 humans had decided that a life was worth saving. "Because it was the right thing to do," Minyu said. The council representative made a sound like a whistle. It might have been a laugh or a sob. "We've been watching your species since you left Earth. We saw your history, your wars, your violence. We thought you were dangerous, brutal. We called your planet and assumed you were monsters shaped by it. We can be dangerous, said, walking up. He was holding a child carefully, taking it to its parents. Earth made us tough, made us fighters, but it also taught us to help each other. When the storm comes, you don't ask if your neighbor deserves help. You just help. Another approached, this one an elderly female with scales like polished silver. She was the one who'd spoken to Minu in the shelter. She moved slowly, still weak, but she came right up to the captain. I am, she said, Elder of the Blessed Dawn. You saved my people, all of them, not one lost. I'm glad we got there in time, Minu said. You don't understand. His voice shook. In all my years traveling the galaxy, I've seen many species, many civilizations. Most are kind in easy times, but when things are hard, when helping costs too much, they find reasons not to. They calculate risk versus reward. They decide some lives aren't worth the price. She reached out and touched Minu's hand. Her scales were cool and smooth. You didn't calculate. You didn't weigh the cost. You just came. And now 47 live because 5 humans decided that saving strangers was worth getting hurt for. The medical bay had gone quiet. Everyone was listening. How do we thank you for this? Asked. How do we repay what you've done? You don't need to repay anything, said. She was leaning against a wall, looking exhausted. We didn't do it for payment. Then why? Answered this time. Because when someone calls for help, you answer. That's all. It's that simple. The council representative's translator struggled with the next sound it made. Finally, it settled on words. You've changed everything, don't you see? For thousands of years, the Galactic Council has operated on careful calculation. We help when it's profitable. We rescue when it's safe. We've built our civilization on being smart and cautious. The alien spread its wings wide. And then you come along and show us what we've forgotten. That sometimes the right thing to do isn't the smart thing. Sometimes you just have to help, even when it hurts, even when it's dangerous, even when it might cost you everything. More aliens were arriving now. News had spread fast. Species from across the galaxy wanted to see the humans who'd done the impossible. They crowded around the horizon's edge, all watching, all learning. Minu's crew was starting to feel the effects of the radiation now, was looking pale, was moving slower than usual. Even who'd been protected in the shuttle was showing signs of exhaustion. We need medical treatment, said quietly. He was the medical officer, but he was also the sickest. He'd spent the most time directly exposed, checking the council doctors immediately offered help. Advanced alien medicine far beyond what Earth had, but shook his head. We'll use our own medical bay, human treatments for human biology. We know what we're doing. As the crew headed for their own medical facilities, the children waved goodbye. Their parents bowed, a gesture of deep respect in their culture, stood at the front, her silver scales shimmering. The galaxy will hear of this, she called out. Everyone will know what you did, what humans are truly like. Minu paused at the door and looked back. We're not special. We're just people who couldn't ignore someone asking for help. Anyone would have done the same. No, said softly. They wouldn't have, but you did, and that changes everything. The door closed behind the human crew. Outside, the galaxy watched and wondered. They had shown them something new. Something they'd lost or maybe never had. They'd shown them what it meant to be heroes. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every news channel, every data network, every communication hub carried the same story. 5 humans had flown into conditions that would kill any known species. They'd rescued 47 from certain death, and they'd done it without being asked twice. The footage from their suit cameras was played everywhere. Aliens watched in amazement as Minu and his crew walked through radiation that should have killed them. They saw humans carrying through vacuum and extreme temperatures, protecting the fragile aliens with their own bodies. But what shocked the galaxy most wasn't the rescue itself. It was what happened after. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council called a special session. Every member species sent representatives. The Great Chamber was filled with thousands of aliens, all gathered to discuss one topic: humans. Stood at the center of the chamber. The silver-scaled elder had recovered from her ordeal, and now she spoke for her people. "For 3,000 years, my species has been part of this council," she began. "We've seen peace and prosperity. We've built a civilization based on logic and careful planning, and we believed this was the height of what sapient beings could achieve." She paused, letting her words echo through the chamber. "Then we nearly died. Our ship failed in a place no one could reach. We called for help, and the council told us it was impossible. They calculated the risks and decided we weren't worth saving. They offered us prayers instead of action." Some of the council members shifted uncomfortably. But the humans didn't calculate risk. They didn't weigh cost versus benefit. They heard our cry for help and they came, that's all. It was that simple for them. She looked around at the assembled aliens. "I ask you now, what does that say about us? About our civilization? We pride ourselves on being advanced, but we've forgotten something basic, something the humans still remember." "What's that?" someone called out. "That being civilized doesn't mean being safe. It means being willing to help, even when it's hard, even when it costs you something, even when it's dangerous." The council chamber erupted in debate. Some aliens argued that the humans had just been lucky. Others said that risking your crew for strangers was foolish, not heroic. But more and more voices spoke in favor of what the humans had done. Finally, the council leader called for silence. It was a being of pure energy, contained in a crystal shell. Its voice boomed through the chamber. "They are correct. We have become too cautious, too comfortable. We've forgotten that being part of a galactic community means helping each other, not just when it's convenient, but when it matters most." The crystal pulsed with light. "I propose the creation of a new initiative, the Response Program. We ask the humans to lead it, training crews to respond to disasters we've always deemed impossible." The vote was overwhelming. Only a handful of species voted against it. 6 months later, Minyu stood on the observation deck of a new ship. It was bigger than the horizon's edge, built specifically for rescue operations. The name painted on its hull was simple: Blessed Dawn, in honor of the ship they'd saved. His crew had grown, was now the chief of training, teaching alien engineers how to work in extreme conditions. Ran a medical program, showing alien doctors techniques developed from treating injuries in Earth's harshest environments. Trained pilots to fly in conditions that would make navigation computers crash. And headed a team that specialized in structural rescue, pulling people from collapsing buildings and damaged ships. But they weren't alone anymore. Dozens of other humans had joined the program, and surprisingly, aliens too, species that wanted to learn, that wanted to be brave enough to help, even when it was dangerous. "Captain Minyu," a voice spoke behind him. He turned to see a young alien, one of the crystal beings. "We have a distress call, mining colony on a high-gravity world. Cave-in has trapped 60 workers. Local authorities say it's too dangerous to attempt rescue." Minyu smiled. 6 months ago, that colony would have been left to die. The council would have offered sympathies and moved on, but not anymore. "What species are the miners?" "Mostly, sir, some others." Of course, they had taken the lesson to heart. They were establishing colonies on harsher worlds now, pushing their limits, and when they got in trouble, they knew help would come. "Get the team ready," Minyu ordered. "How long until we can get there?" 18 hours at maximum speed." "Then let's not waste time." The Blessed Dawn came alive with activity. Human and alien crew members working together, preparing for a mission that most of the galaxy would still call impossible. But they'd done impossible things before. In the months since the rescue, the response program had completed 27 missions. They'd saved over 300 lives, and more importantly, they'd changed the way the galaxy thought about helping each other. Visited the ship sometimes. She'd become an ambassador of sorts, speaking about what the humans had done. Today she found in the training bay, showing a group of young aliens how to use emergency breathing equipment. "You've started something remarkable," said when the session ended. Shrugged, "We just did what needed doing." That's what makes it remarkable. You didn't see it as anything special. For you, helping people in danger is just normal. On Earth, it has to be. The planet doesn't give you a choice. You help your neighbor or you both die. Scales shifted to a warm golden color. The galaxy is learning that lesson now. Did you hear? 3 species have announced they're establishing training programs based on your methods. They're teaching their people to be tougher, to take risks for each other. That's good, said. The more help that's available, the better. It's more than good. It's revolutionary. Moved closer. For thousands of years, species have been trying to escape the dangers of the universe, building perfect environments, eliminating all risk. The humans showed us something different. You taught us that sometimes danger is where you need to be because that's where people need help. Later that day, Minyu received a message from Earth. It was from the United Earth government, congratulating him and his crew. But more than that, it was telling him about the effect they'd had. Applications to join the space service had increased by 300%. Young humans wanted to be like Minyu's crew. They wanted to help, to explore, to do impossible things. But it wasn't just humans. The message included data from the Galactic Council. Applications from alien species had increased too. Young aliens who'd watched the rescue and decided they wanted to be brave enough to help, even when it was hard. "We're changing things," said, reading over Minyu's shoulder. "The whole galaxy is changing because we refuse to ignore a distress call." "Do you think it'll last?" asked. "Or will everyone go back to being cautious once the excitement fades?" Minyu thought about that. He thought about and the other, who'd been given a second chance at life. He thought about the young aliens in training, learning to be braver than their species had been before. He thought about the miners waiting for rescue, who would live because someone was willing to try. "I think we've reminded them of something important," he said finally. "Something they'd forgotten or maybe never knew, that being part of a community means helping each other, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard." The alert sounded. Time to go. Another impossible rescue. Another chance to save lives. As the blessed dawn accelerated toward the mining colony, Minyu looked out at the stars. Humanity had left Earth less than a century ago. They were newcomers to the galaxy, still learning, still making mistakes. But they'd brought something with them, something Earth had burned into their very bones through millions of years of survival. The knowledge that when someone calls for help, you answer. You don't calculate the risk. You don't weigh the cost. You just go. And now the galaxy was learning that lesson. Species that had spent avoiding danger were starting to run toward it when lives were at stake. They had done more than rescue 47. They'd rescued the idea that heroism still mattered. That helping people was more important than staying safe. That some things were worth the risk. Joined Minyu at the window, both of them watching the stars rush past. "You know what's funny," said. "They called us because they thought Earth made us dangerous, violent, they were scared of us. And now they're asking us to teach them to be a little more like us, to be tough enough to help, even when it hurts." Minyu smiled. "Earth did make us dangerous, but it also made us something else." "What's that?" "Unwilling to leave people behind." The blessed dawn raced through space, carrying its crew of humans and aliens toward another impossible rescue. Behind them, the Galactic Council watched and learned. Ahead of them, 60 miners waited in the dark, not knowing yet that help was coming. But help was always coming now, because they had shown the galaxy what it meant to be heroes. and the galaxy was finally listening.